Hello, my name is Barbara O'Hearn, and today we're going to go over my mini lesson with backward design. The passage I received referenced radiopacity. In my 5 learning outcomes, number 1 states that students will be able to identify the areas of the mouth that have radiopacity. The first step in backward design is to state your learning outcome. Students should be able to identify areas of the mouth that have radiopacity. Step 2 is the evidence. I have posted a panoramic x-ray. I have noted where I found the x-ray, and what I'm asking my students to do is to label the areas of the mouth that show the most radiopacity in this particular x-ray. Those areas would be things like a crown, an implant, a filling, and as you can see, there are things that have radiopacity and they have different levels of radiopacity. So I want my students to identify anything that's really bright white, like a crown or an implant or a filling. Sample assessment question number 1. Structures on the radiograph that show the most radiopacity are teeth, crowns, jawbone, implant. And the correct answer is E. Both B and D show the most radiopacity on the x-ray. Sample assessment question number 2. I've given my students a different type of x-ray. It's called the bite wing x-ray, also noting where the x-ray was found. So what I'm asking my students to do here is to look at the x-ray and just list 5 things that have radiopacity. Doesn't matter the level of radiopacity. So they've got quite a few things to choose from. We have a 3-unit bridge, we have a filling, we have enamel on a tooth, we have a single crown. This white stripe going up the root of the tooth is called gutta percha. Also bone. So they've got a lot to choose from. Just list 5 things in the radiograph that have radiopacity. To get my students to a level where they can complete those assessments, I have some learning activities for them. The first one is radiopacity, the definition. I want my students to memorize the definition of radiopacity. I've also noted where I found the definition of radiopacity, and we have a graph that I thought would be very useful for the students showing the different ranges of color you see in a radiograph. This will show the students that the darker a structure is in a radiograph, the more radiolucent it is. The whiter a structure is in a radiograph, the more radiopaque it is. And again, we know where we found this graph. The other learning activity I have for the students is a photo of the jaw. One half shows the mouth in a natural state. The other half shows what the mouth looks like when it's been radiographed. And again, noted where the picture was found.